Hi, this is Billy Tarasio from Modern Law and Modern Law Practice. I have essentially spent all day working on intake and consultations. My office manager, Caitlin, who's my right hand, is in Toronto meeting with our Canadian team that does all of the phone answering for Modern Law and all of the clients at Modern Law Practice. So they do all of the client intake. And Caitlin is there working on some training. They brought on a lot of new people in order to handle the firms that we're working with and the increased call volume that we have. And there's nothing like, kind of old-fashioned on-the-ground training. And so I spent an hour with them on video doing calls. And I have a certain way that I want these calls handled. And I have also a pretty specific way that I want our consultations handled. And I feel very strongly that we're not selling people, that we are, and this is a contradiction, because on one hand, I absolutely want us fully engaged in the sales process. But what I don't want is for my intake team to be convincing people to schedule with Modern Law or any of the other firms that we work with. That's simply not an effective way to make someone want to work with you. So instead, I want them fully engaged in the conversation. I want them to be the most available best friend someone could ever have on the end of the phone. And we did a few role plays. And in one of them, Caitlin, who's in Toronto, was role playing with me, and she was talking about this thing and going on, and I was the phone answering person pretending to be. And I will not say, let's get you scheduled. Let's get you in. I will wait until she says, well, how do I get in with you? Until I offer that. Instead, I'm right with her in whatever conversation she's having. So she was describing a husband that had cheated on her, and she wasn't sure what to do, and she needed information. And it almost makes sense for me to provide that as an example, or an example of what I think a perfect intake call should look like. But then also I was working with my attorneys on consultations. And so it's a similar philosophy. I break the initial consultations into 3 steps. Step 1 is greeting. And when you're greeting the client, you want to, this is your only chance to make a first impression. So you want to be exactly what they expected you to be as an attorney. You want to be confident. You want to have good posture. You want to be smiling. You want to invite them. You want to say, hello, Jeff, it is so great to meet you. I'm glad you're here. Let's come on back and talk about your case. You want to be excited to see them, and you want them to feel excited to see you. They're going to be nervous, so you want to dissipate that as much as possible. We also try to use things like reciprocity, scarcity, likability, all of the things that Cialdini talks about in influence that makes people, humans, like one another. We want to use all of those things to make the best possible first impression that we can make. And then also during this greeting phase, which is only like 2 to 3 to 4 minutes, find something to compliment, something that's real. So a real compliment, like, oh, I really like your earrings, or those are fantastic Bluetooth speakers. I have used the same ones, something like that. Any type of connection. Or you'll see that they're maybe from the same state you were from, or they went to the same college you went for. Find some commonality. Commonality plus a smile, plus a warm greeting, plus posture and authority, and you're good to go on your greeting. The next section of the initial consultation is the most important, and this is the active listening section. This is a good 40 minutes where your job is to become an investigator and a reporter. Suspend your analysis. Suspend the lawyer brain, the brain that was writing the motion or the brain that was negotiating. Stop it. Turn all of that off and instead become a writer, an investigator, someone who's curious and someone who's warm and someone who's supportive. Your job is to just uncover as much as you possibly can. Ask about everything. Ask about how your adult children feel about the situation. Ask about all of it. Is anybody helping you? What's your support network currently look like? Whatever it may be, you want to spend a good 40 minutes simply understanding what it is they had in mind. what their objectives might be, what their biggest fears are, what they think their biggest opportunities are. When you get all of that information, now you're ready to be the best possible lawyer that you can be. Now you're armed with information that you can use in order to do your closing. And the closing is the hardest part for most everyone. And so here's how we do it. Here's how I do it. First of all, I've got props. I've got a folder with information in it, handouts, and some of these handouts we're going to go over. And then I've got a book that I wrote on Arizona divorce. This is the largest business card that you could possibly have. No one's going to throw it away, and it literally makes you an expert. All of this content is also on my website. And when I wrote this, sections of it all went on the website. My web visitors jumped in the year that I added this content from about 1,000, 1,500 visitors a month to over 10,000 a month in the span of a year that I added this content. And that was after, 6 years in business. So it's not like we were brand new. Adding content to the website and making this book has been a fantastic investment. So when I give it to people, this is going to answer all of your common questions about Arizona divorce. You use it as a reference guide. So if you want to talk about child support, you go to child support. If you want to learn about spousal maintenance or dividing businesses, go to that section. It's not a cover-to-cover book. Okay? Now, when you work with modern law, we work like most firms work. Or let's say most of the time. Let's say I'm offering a replenishing agreement where they're going to deposit money into a trust account. All right? So have you worked with lawyers before? Are you familiar with working with lawyers? It's either yes, I've worked with lots of lawyers, and then it's okay, well, we work like most firms work, where you're going to deposit money into a trust account, and we're going to use that to bill against your, we're going to use that to bill towards your representation. And we have a pretty set methodology that we use, one that we believe in, and this is a handout. We were going over in our training, that's why it's circled. But what happens is I put this down, and it's right here, let's say, and everybody leans in. When you lean in, something happens. You're now closer. You now trust each other more. So you're leaning in over this piece of paper, and I'm walking through the steps. So here's what this looks like. Okay, so let's pretend this is you. You're looking at this. I've got this here. The first thing we're going to do is we've got our initial consultation right now and then a strategy session. And the goals of these two meetings is to really understand the players and the problems and define your objectives. And that way we can assign to you the right legal team. I'm not the person who always does, I don't have an active caseload. So if I'm doing a consultation, it means someone else is going to be assigned to work on your case. And this is the lead in, okay? So but back to our spiel. So we're going to assign the right legal team. So for instance, it sounds like you need to redo your will along with perhaps a postnuptial agreement. Because of that, we think that, the Kylie, Amanda, Henry legal team is going to be absolutely best for you. So we're going to meet, and then together, the client and the legal team, we're going to work together to create a strategy to meet the objectives that we're going to outline. And we're going to have a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is always the path of least resistance, which means going around the legal system. And if we can develop a strategy that keeps you out of litigation, you're going to save money, you're going to be done faster, you're going to spend less money, you're probably going to be happier with the result. We can't always achieve that, but we're going to try. That's plan A. That doesn't work, we'll move on to plan B. The step 5 in our process here is to intentionally and patiently execute this strategy. Sometimes these things take longer than you want it to, because if you're coming to me and you're ready for a divorce, you're ready, but it probably took you 2 years to get here, and your spouse is going to need a little bit of time to catch up. So we're going to have to be patient and let the process work. Step 6 is we're going to meet, we're going to communicate, and we're going to reevaluate our strategy every step of the way. We do have a guarantee. The guarantee is down here. I don't know how much this is going to cost. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I can guarantee you're going to know what's happening at every step of the way. Our job, my role, is to be your consultant and your guide. You're going to make decisions about how you spend your money and what happens with your life, whether or not we file a motion, whether or not we conduct discovery. You're going to be working with us to make that happen. By that point, they're usually ready to go. We've listened to them. They know that we understand them, and they have confidence that we take their problem pretty seriously. We are experts. in this area. It's all we do, and we do it well. And they're usually ready to go. We've got other handouts in here that describe discovery, walk you through the process, the affidavit of financial information, the court filing fees, but typically we don't even have to go over that. Then the question is, what do you think you want to do? You need to get a commitment. That's one of Cialdini's 6 rules of reciprocity. Get a commitment. What do you think you want to do? And then they'll say, you know, I'm ready to move forward now, or I need to talk to so-and-so or whatever. One of the other things that I also try to ask them is, you know, is the $5,000 in your budget? Was that what you were expecting to spend? And usually they'll tell me, you know, yes or no, or I don't think I can do that because this is how much I have, or whatever. You want to meet them exactly where they're at. Okay, well, how much were you thinking of spending? And then do we have any options for you that will meet your budget? It's really important that you practice this, that you're confident in your delivery. And that's why we do role playing, and that's why we do workshops. And it's an ongoing thing. You're never done training. I'll talk about management on a different day, but you're never, ever done. You're always managing. You're always reassessing and re-coaching and being a cheerleader for your team. That's your job as a manager. That's your job as an owner. And it's not one of these things where you train it and then you're done. So we do have some workshops coming up in December. If your conversion rate isn't where you want it to be, or you want to build your confidence, watch these videos, consider attending a workshop. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.